Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill. Friday afternoon, Billy Napier, the Florida Gators take care of business against Tulane in the bowl game. And look, there are going to be people telling me in the comment section not to put too much stock in this bowl game. And I'll grant it, you don't want to put too much stock in it. One, I'm going to enjoy every last down of football we get till the end of the season. More importantly, these bowl games can kind of kick off your offseason, your winter workout, spring practice, fall camp. A really good example, Florida State gets speed bag last year by Georgia in a bowl game. We all saw what that 2024 season looks like. They're not huge, but I think they do mean something going into the offseason, especially when you're talking about a Florida Gators roster that is as young and has as much returning to 2025 as Florida does. I want to start with DJ Lagway. I know there's a lot of takes about his performance. Talk about this Florida Gators defense that, look, I get Ty Thompson ain't any good at quarterback. That doesn't change the fact that this Florida Gators defense looked phenomenal all game. Really excited to get into it. Before we do, and as always, to the Florida Gator fans, one, the amount of support many of y'all have shown the boys as we've talked this team in the transfer portal has been amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, let it fly in the comment section. Dill, I'll kick it to you. Let's start with DJ Lagway. I think that's going to be the most popular talking point surrounding this game. A little bit of a roller coaster, some ups and downs, and I feel like sometimes we need to all remind ourselves that this kid is a true freshman quarterback. What did you think about what we saw from DJ Lagway on the offensive side of the football?
I mean, it wasn't his cleanest game, obviously. Those interceptions, you just can't have them. I mean, those are the type of things that you'd certainly like to see, his ability to extend plays and make those highlight reels. But obviously, there's got to be a limit to that. You can't throw those interceptions. But honestly, like on the whole, still a really solid game. I mean, they didn't win by a lot of points, and I don't think he played particularly great.
Well,
So
they moved the football. It's just like when they got to the red zone, they stalled out. I mean, over 500 total yards of offense. It wasn't like Florida struggled to move the football on Tulane, who has a very good defense coming into this football game. Just when you got down into the red zone, you settled for field goals. You had some turnovers. You're looking at a game that Florida dominated for 4 quarters, even in the first 2 quarters, and it was 6-0 going into halftime. My take on DJ Lagway, and it's kind of how we've talked about this kid throughout his freshman year. He's still a young quarterback that has the world at his fingers in terms of what he can do as a football player. And he's still trying to learn how to walk that line between I'm going to be a difference maker and make some really, really impressive plays, which he does consistently, but I also got to balance it out and say I got to take care of the football as well. And one thing I will say, he does look a little hesitant running the football. You go back to his high school days, this kid is extremely dynamic as an athlete. And you can tell that hamstring injury is still bothering him. I think a lot of fans that don't necessarily follow the high school recruiting trail don't know a ton about DJ Lagway. They've only seen him with a banged up hamstring over the last couple of weeks. You get that hamstring figured out going into 2025, you're unlocking a whole new dimension of his football game, because you can tell he's a phenomenal athlete in those short area quicks. But when he has to kind of stride and get himself out of trouble, you can tell he's a little hesitant to do so with the hamstring. When he gets that right in 2025, I think you see a kind of a different quarterback in the 2025.
Because a couple of those balls probably shouldn't even been thrown. And those were, I mean, he was on the run. He was trying to make a play. Like, if he's healthy, is he just tuck it down and run, which is frankly what he probably should have done anyway. But again, you said it, like if he's more comfortable and kind of feeling himself, like do you avoid those plays by just taking what's there, getting it on the ground and just making, because again, this interceptions really only came off those sort of broken plays today.
Yeah, and it was both of them, I believe, were just not seeing a guy in the underneath zone. It's just young quarterback mistakes. And Billy Napier even said it after the first one, like he knows what went wrong. He'll clean it up. This is why I get so excited about bowl games. Like, it's a glorified spring game where you get to see some young guys make some mistakes and learn. I think DJ Lagway did a lot of good things. Dill, I guess we'll go out on this. There were a lot of times where that short intermediate passing game was damn good from DJ. And that's one of the things that I'm not going to say it was bad in his freshman year, but where he made his money was pushing the ball down the field. Tulane did a very good job not really giving up the deeper third. and kind of forcing DJ Lagway to take what's there at times and kind of work the short intermediate route trees, I thought he was dang good. And if he kind of adds that portion to his game, along with being an athlete, along with what he does attacking the deeper third, he's going to be such a difficult quarterback to stop if you're a defensive coordinator. Running back room, we obviously know what Jaden Baugh is. Katie Daniels is another true freshman. I mean, we were talking about some dummy talent on the offensive side of the football from some youngsters. You obviously have Dallas Wilson now joining as a true freshman as well. Katie Daniels looked good. You kind of feel really good about what this running back room is going to be in 2025. What did you see from the offensive line? Because that's Tulane just scored a touchdown. Went down last minute. We turned the game off. Dale, we'll carry on. Garbage time touchdown. Florida offensive line. What were your big takeaways here?
I mean, you said it, and it's been that way. It's kind of been building that way all season. Is they're just a really physical unit that can impose their will. There was a little bit of frustration, frankly. I'm watching, felt like they were almost throwing the ball too much in the first half.
In the first half, yes.
Really road grading on that team, beating them up front. They were dominating pretty consistently. And also, you saw they were rotating in a fair amount of guys. And I don't always love that for offensive lines, but I don't know, they were playing really fresh. They were being really physical, and they were moving that Tulane team off the ball really consistently. And again, that's something we've talked about. You wanted to see it from Billy Napier's offensive line, be more physical along both lines of scrimmage. I mean, that unit is playing really good football down the stretch.
I thought Bryce Lovett at right tackle was pretty impressive. And that's really the one position. I don't even know if I call it a concern, but that's the one position you don't return a starter. Like, you're returning pretty much every starting offensive line from 2024. And now it's about, I'm going to try to center this again. The right tackle spot is the only position you have to replace. And I look at it and say, Bryce Lovett looked like a damn good candidate to be playing right tackle for Florida in 2025. You mentioned it too. They're deep. They were playing 7-8 guys. Cam Waits at guard. For one, I like it better. He's a much better guard than he is tackle. Still struggles in pass protection. Can really move bodies off the line of scrimmage in the run game. If you can get Cam Waits better in pass pro in the offseason, that's another guy I really like on the offensive line. Playmakers on the outside, you saw TJ Abrams get involved a little bit. Aiden Mizell, to me, he's one of those players that is flickering. Like, can you get that light to turn on in 2025? Long, really juiced up with some long speed. The wide receiver room, I mean, with Dallas Wilson coming in, J. Michael Sturdivant, you feel pretty good. The talent around DJ Lagway next year is going to be good. Here's my last take on offense still. I think Florida should be looking to upgrade the tight end position. For as much 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets that Florida likes to go to, I wouldn't mind seeing some more difference makers at the tight end position for Florida heading into the 2025 year.
And the X factor is obviously Amir Jackson. I mean, you talk about he came in, you only really got to see him block. I felt like he had a couple of
good reps, yeah.
I didn't necessarily think of him as a physical blocker when I'm thinking Amir Jackson, but a couple of nice reps. So again, I think that is kind of going to be table stakes, frankly, to play tight end for this Florida team, given how much I think they're going to be able to run the ball and are going to want to be physical next year with that offensive line returning. But he is kind of one of those guys. Livingston, I thought, made some plays, but I think you are right. It wouldn't be a bad idea to add a really complete tight end who I think can just do a little more than probably what Hanson.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. It's not me saying, Hanson or Livingston are bad football players. It's pretty clear that the tight end position is you're going to be involved in this offense, whether it's inline blocking, whether it's as an H-back, whether it's in the passing game. I just feel like you could use an upgrade at that position, have a little bit more of that difference-making ability at the tight end spot. I'm kind of interested to see if Florida tries to address that going into 2025 on the defensive side of the football, barring that touchdown drive that I thought the game was over, so I'm just going to ignore it. It was a dominant performance. These linebackers are special. You talk about Aiden Childs. You talk about a guy like Miles Graham. What you're seeing from this Florida Gators front seven going into 2025, a lot of which will be returning. If you get George Gums and Tyreek Satback and you get some development from guys like LJ McCray, Cam James, Dontre Robinson, kind of up and down from the reps that I saw, but you're returning so much talent in this front seven. It's hard for me to look at a reality where this is not a very good unit for Florida in the 2025 year.
And to me, it's very dependent on exactly what you said in terms of what you get in terms of development from those defensive ends. Because Cameron James, I actually thought he played a really good game today. LJ McCray is kind of the guy you're looking at. Like,
agreed.
you really take that next step and be a real difference maker? Because you've seen some moments for sure. Haven't really seen any steady dominance from him so far in his freshman year. But again, you look, the physical talent is very clearly there. He's going to be a guy you're kind of looking for because, again, that was something you felt like Florida, like you almost wanted to see that true first-round pick kind of emerge on the defensive line.
No,
obviously Banks did it, so Banks kind of came into being that guy. I think you wouldn't mind seeing one of your edge guys do it. George Gums, Tyreek.
I was going to say, I think George Gums has that ability. I mean, this is a kid that was playing wide receiver a couple of years ago, still making that transition. That kid's juiced up coming off the edge. Like, I think there's still some development that needs to take place, but from a pure physical trait standpoint, George Gums has it all. And then Tyreek Sapp's just a hammer, man. Like, he's never going to be a guy that goes for 12 sacks, 15 TFLs. Might be the best defensive lineman on this Florida Gators roster in terms of just the all-around play you get from him. Linebackers in spacing and coverage are elite. And it's a really big storyline, Dell. You look at, if you want to have a good defense in this modern era of college football, think about some of the Georgia linebackers we've seen the last couple of years. You need to be athletic. And, I mean, you talk about Shamar James and you talk about Miles Graham and you talk about Childs. These are some freaky athletes, especially in space. That's that unit that I look at in 2025 and say that might be one of the best linebacker units in rooms that you see in the country.
Yeah, and it's crazy deep. I mean, again, especially if Shamar James decides to come back, because he's that guy who it's turned on for him. You talk about the light, if you will. I mean, he's playing sustained dominant football. He's such a good athlete. He's so good in space. I feel like he's playing more physical in terms of taking on blocks and tackling more physically. He's just really turned into an all-around complete linebacker. Again, I think there's a lot of value to him coming back and really just playing a full season like the way he's playing, because I think that's first round.
Yeah, and the last shout-out I'll give, at least I have in my notes, Deshaun Johnson, that cornerback. I mean, that kid is extremely good. I mean, he's taken over and just has been very, very good for Florida. This roster to me, Dill, especially with all the guys that you're kind of hearing are returning, like you get Caleb Banks back, you get pretty much everyone on the offensive line back. You know you have a guy in DJ Lagway. When you have a special quarterback with some special talent on the outside, which I think Florida will have when Trey Wilson gets back, and you talk about Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown, and then how complete they are on defense, that to me, this was a sloppy football game, and Florida handled business. Yeah, this team has the chance to be really good in 2025. Billy Napier, for the love of God, clean up the special teams. That's what I'll close out, because that is getting look, I think this program is going in the right direction. It is clearly turning around, at least the way I look at it. But holy smokes, we got to stop having the special teams timeouts. It's a nightmare. It's been a nightmare for 24 months. We'll close it out there. Should have ended on a more positive note, but so be it. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.